Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today we are celebrating Trinity Stamps 2023 holiday release. If this is the date of the release, we are hopping along with the YouTube team as part of a hop. All of the instructions for the hop are going to be listed in the description box below, so be sure to check it out and hop on to the next participant. For today's project, I'm super excited to be showcasing the new Good Tidings stamp and die set, along with some other products such as the Merriam Bright die set, a previously released picket fence window die set that comes with the grass and some clouds, the A2 clean cut rectangles set A dies, and I have a pre-foiled piece using the new Retro Ornaments hot foil die set that I will use the rectangle on. So off screen, I went ahead and die cut that rectangle base using that hot foiled panel. And we'll go ahead and bring in our window die with that picket fence feature. This die is unique in the sense it cuts out a window, but it will not cut out a full square. So that bottom edge of the fence is not going to be cut. I'm centering it on the upper portion of my card panel. I don't really want it in the middle because I want room for the sentiment underneath. And I went ahead and die cut that off screen, and you'll be able to see what I meant. So I'm going to pop that out, and then all I have left to do is pop out the little in between, the little negative pieces in between all of the picket fences. I'm going to use my pickup stick in order to do this. That pointy little stylus tool really works well to get all of the nooks and crannies poked out. And then I'm also going to die cut a second piece of really just that fence part out of the same craft cardstock so I can have a solid fence that isn't foiled with the ornament pattern in the background. I wanted the fence to kind of stand out. So I'm just using some regular scissors to trim off the edges, and I'm going to come along the bottom. That bottom edge I didn't have to make perfect because I'm going to be covering it with some grass, so you won't see that cut edge. After I finish trimming that piece of fence, I'm going to use the Trinity Glue Friend as a wet adhesive, and I'm just going to glue that directly over the fence base that I had die cut on the panel. It lined up perfectly. I wasn't worried about the bottom because, like I said, we're going to bring in this piece of grass. I did want it green, so I went ahead and grabbed some Distressed Oxide in my blending buddy and just roughly colored it up. I wasn't super perfect, but it pretty much comes out that solid green with the brown craft undertone. At this point, I decided I wanted to bring that same green in and just added some shading around my panel. This helps tie it all together, and it added a little bit of dimension when I go ahead and layer this onto a card base. So I'm just going around all four edges. I grabbed a piece of scratch paper just so I didn't have to clean my mat over. And once all four edges are inked up, I'm ready to go ahead and clean up and then adhere that grass piece. That grass piece just pops on right at the base of the fence line, and it helps cover up that cut edge that we have from the extra picket fence we die cut. So I'm just using that same glue friend to glue it right down. The wet adhesive does let me move it around a little, which is really nice when you're lining up like that. Off screen, I had die cut and colored out my images from the Good Tidings stamp and die set. I am using that adorable little shepherd and the two sheep that come in the die set for this card. The set also includes an angel. Right now I'm deciding kind of where I'm going to put things. Kind of toyed around with placement. Did I want them behind the fence, in front of the fence? Do I want them both in front, both behind? And this is ultimately pretty much what I landed on. Now I need to ink up what you will see through that window. I'm bringing back in that Rustic Wilderness Distressed Oxide, and I'm just shading essentially where the grass would be. Now I'm going to bring over Fossilized Amber and a cloud stencil and just add some texture to the sky you'd see. This doesn't end up showing a whole lot up on the final card, but I do like the interest it gives you when you see up close. It's really hard to photograph though, because the yellow does fade into that cardstock really well. but it creates for some subtle interest. So after that, I added this and I decided I needed something extra. I didn't like just the straight up cardstock base. I wanted a matte, but I didn't have the right green. So how I fixed that was by inking up all 4 edges of my card base front with that Rustic Wilderness. So I'm gonna take the ink pad directly to my cardstock, because when I tried doing the brush, it wasn't gonna be dark enough. So you're gonna see me kind of play with it, and then I just decided to give up on the brush altogether and inked it up straight across. This gave me a nice dark green edge that worked as a matte for that card front. After I had inked it up, I am ready to assemble. So I'm using that glue friend and I'm just going to adhere that foiled panel with the window directly to the card base, centering it right on the panel. As you can tell, I have that nice green border, and then I put my MISTI on it just to weigh it down to dry. After it was dry, I'm ready to add my characters and my sentiment. So I'm bringing back in those Good Tiding images, and then I die cut the Miriam Bright die set out of that craft cardstock and the glossy black cardstock. I tripled up my cardstock base, so that craft base. So there's 3 layers of craft, and then I added 1 layer of the glossy black just to give it a nice stiff dimension without having to use foam tape on the front of the card. Makes this really mail friendly when you put it in an envelope. It's not super thick, but it still does have a classy amount of dimension to it, in my opinion. And it makes the sentiments a little easier to handle. So at this point, I'm just adding that last layer, and then I'm deciding kind of where they're all gonna line up. I ended up deciding to put Mary and across the top and Bright directly underneath my scene. And that wraps up my card. Thanks again for stopping by. Be sure to check out the description box below for all of the details about the card and the hop, and like and subscribe to see more content. Have a great day, stay crafty, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.